Hi, welcome back to MON DIEU. I'm Olivia McCoy. Today we're going to be making handmade pasta. To start out, we have 200 grams of AP flour. You can also use 00 flour. The 00 means that this is the finest milled flour that you can get. So the texture is going to be very, very soft, very, very fine. I do not have 00 at the moment, so AP is the substitute. We also have 200 grams of semolina flour. This semolina flour is a super fine textured semolina. This one comes from, I'll put the link below, but Bellina Alimentari in Atlanta imports flour from Italy. You can get it delivered at your house. So this is my recommended brand of semolina flour. They also sell 00. In addition to our flours, we have 4 eggs. And we are going to use this to create our pasta. So starting out, I have both flours measured in this bowl here, and I'm just going to dump them onto my work surface. This recipe is enough yield for 4 people. If you'd like it for 2, you divide the recipe by 2. If you'd like it for more, you can multiply it by 2, and then you'd have enough for 8. So what we're going to do is collect our flour into a nice circle and create a well in the center where you can see the bottom of the countertop inside of your well. The well is just a deep circle in the center. Again, we can see the countertop in this well. I want to make enough room for 4 eggs, so it should be about 2/5 worth of room inside your well. Alright, we're looking good. My sides are high and built up. I don't want to have any eggs running onto the actual countertop. If the sides fall like this, you're going to have a spill of eggs, like a little river, and that's going to kind of just be annoying. So watch out for that. I'm just going to crack my eggs into the center. These are extra large eggs. The extra large eggs have more moisture, so it should fully incorporate all of our flour. If we use large eggs or medium, we might have to add a little bit more water to our mix to incorporate all the flour. The rule of thumb is 1 egg for every 100 grams of flour. So we did 400 grams of flour total. We're going to do 4 eggs. I'm just breaking the yolk. And I'm using my hand, mainly because I enjoy it. I'm able to figure out, how wet or dry my dough is. And you can also use a fork, but it's traditional to use your hands. Now what I'm doing is agitating the egg yolks, and I am reaching for flour along the sides of my well, making sure I have a nice, safe structure on the sides. But I'm reaching on the underneath side to pull the flour in. So I'm going to incorporate flour by agitating the eggs and then just scraping along the edge of my well to get that underneath flour. I don't want to have any busts in my little dam I have created. So I'm just watching out for that and protecting it structurally. So I add a little bit of flour, and then I agitate it to incorporate that flour. Alright, now that we're actually becoming a dough and the eggs are less runny, I'm not so much worried about the sides anymore running. I'm just going to incorporate all of the flour to create a dough. Now what I'm going to do is kind of start the kneading process, but still incorporating the flour. Just picking it up and pushing the wet dough into the dry flour. So the color we're getting is from the eggs and also from the semolina flour, that nice golden hue that fresh pasta has. Alright, we still have a lot of unincorporated flour, so I am going to dip into my little water that I have here. Just kind of wet that flour. If I didn't care about my yield, I could just, stop there and stick with the mass I have, but I don't want to waste any, so Just going in with a little bit of water on the hand. So I don't want to affect my mass that I have here because it's pretty nicely hydrated. I just want this additional flour that was left behind to get that same love and hydration. Once it starts to feel like the rest of my mass here, I'm just going to incorporate it and have it be one. Okay, feeling good. Excellent. Together. Now what we will do is we will knead this dough for about 15 minutes. We're not going to do any window pane test, but what we are looking for is super supple Italian leather quality dough. So this dough should be extremely soft. Right now what I have is a lot of rough edges. We don't want to see any of that in our finished product. We should be able to see just a wonderful, beautiful, supple dough that's extremely soft, like Italian leather. So we're going to knead until we get to that point, and I will show you what the dough looks like in 15 minutes. Here's how we're kneading our dough. We're making sure that we have a flat side that is remaining flat the entire time, continuous flat side, so this will be my flat side. And then we have the side that I'm kneading, which is kind of your rough side. So you're taking your heel of your hand, you're pushing down and forward, and it should curl up on the back of your hand. Then once we've reached our down and forward, it's curling up. Then we are going to, with our other hand, rotate it and fold it. So we're going to fold it and then rotate it 90 degrees, and then we're going to be pushing on that large part forward and down, and again rotate and fold, push, rotate and fold, push. And we're just going to do this, like I said, for 15 minutes. Alright, so I've been kneading for about 15 minutes and our dough has taken on this very nice, soft, supple form. This is what we want it to look like. There shouldn't be any sort of rippling on the sides. It should be like one smooth ball. And even your backside has become really smooth. So last night when we were making pasta, my husband and I, he was saying, what if I lose track of my soft side? And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, it's really soft on both sides now. And I was like, oh, okay, that's perfect. That's where we want to be with our dough when we go into resting. One hour, room temperature. It's going to be sitting out, and then we're going to come back to it and roll it. Our dough has been resting for at least 1 hour, so we have a nice relaxed dough here. It hasn't changed shape because we didn't add any yeast. All we wanted to do was relax the gluten structure we built up during our kneading time. Now we're going to unwrap this and roll it out into our pasta. So first thing we want to do, because this is quite a lot of dough, we're going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to portion half of it and then portion the other half later. If you're having a lot of pasta, if you're wanting 4 people to eat, then you're going to portion it, roll it, shape it, and then portion the other half, roll it, shape it, and cook it all at the same time in a large pot. I'm only needing to feed 2, so I'm just going to do half and save the rest for later. This will stay for 1 week in your fridge, wrapped tightly. It has egg in it, so 1 week is the max time that you can keep this inside of your refrigerator. I do not have a pasta roller. I'm going to be doing this all by a rolling pin, and I'll be shaping the pasta noodles with the pizza wheel. Right, so like I said, I'm going to cut this in half and portion half of it. If you have a pasta roller at home, then you're going to be going from the thickest setting. It's usually 0, or if it's a different type of one, it will be 9. Whatever your thickest setting is, you run your sheet through once on the thickest setting, fold it, which I'll show you. I'll just do that one time, but you could do it up to 3 or 4 times. Keep going through the thickest setting until you have this really nice smooth product, and then you'll go number by number into your thinner settings, each time running it through, flouring it, running it through, switching your number, flour, run it through, and you keep doing that until you're all the way down to your thinnest setting, and that is when you would run it through. Either it has its own cutting tool, or you can cut it, or you can leave it whole, which would be lasagna sheets. And if you want to make ravioli, you can also leave it in whole sheets, and then you could punch out the ravioli. So very versatile. We're going to flour our work surface. And I'll set the camera up this way so you can see the rolling process. Right. Cut this bad boy in half. Save that for later. Just making sure we have some nice surface flour on the actual dough. That's what I was doing there when I was pressing it. Just checking to make sure it's not sticky. Alright. So the first rolling we're going to do is making the sheet as long as we possibly can. And then the second roll we're going to do is going to be to thin the pasta out into the thin or thickness we want our noodles to be. If I'm noticing any sticky parts, I'm just kind of letting the dough hit the flour on the countertop. And then every pass I do, every 2 passes that's going down with the rolling pin, I'm rotating the dough so that the opposite side is now towards me. Alright, now that we have it here, I'm going to do just one fold. Just any excess flour, I'm just wiping it off there. So I fold the top down into the third, so a third way down, and the bottom up to the third. I'm going to rotate it. So our bottom up, rotate it 90 degrees. And now we're just going to start rolling again. I do that at least once. Now I'm going to have a all in all thicker product here this way, but also because I did that folding, I'm going to have some nice chew texture in the middle. I'm running low on flour, so I'm just going to add a little bit more to my countertop here. That every time you would pass this through the machine, if you have one, you want to make sure you liberally flour. At this point, the more flour the better, just because you don't want any sticking. And your dough really shouldn't be sticky anyways. But when you pass it through the machine, the friction caused by it will cause your dough to stick. So it seems like that's about as far as I can go without the dough kind of stretching back on me. And that's, you know, the gluten structure kind of tightening. We let it relax so that it wouldn't immediately shrink back when we try to roll it out. Now what we're going to do our second rolling, which is going to go in this direction. And this is going to get us the thin noodle that we want, or whatever kind of thick, thin texture you want. I'm going to make sure I have a nice amount of flour on both sides here. Just getting us into the shape we want, make sure we're all kind of even. And now this side, it seems to be a little bit thicker, like on the edges. So I'm going to just push the middle out first and see where we go. I'm starting from the middle and pushing out towards the top. And when I can see through, that's when I know that I've gone thin enough. So if I can see my hand, the color of my hand underneath, or the color of the countertop underneath, that's when I know that my pasta noodle is the thickness that I want. The edge is a little bit thicker. Just push it up until it's the equal thickness to what you have at your desired location. So that is all the same. Nice. Now we're going to do the bottom, which was just the same as the top, except we're starting in the middle and going down. So this portion is enough for 2 people, and then if I picked up my other piece of dough and rolled it out, that would be enough for 4. Again, when I can see the countertop, that's how I know I've achieved the thickness that I want. Alright, we are looking pretty good. Now what we're going to do is switch to semolina flour. So all of my surface flour has now met the dough, so it's kind of one with the dough now. I don't really have any surface flour on the top or bottom anymore. So that's why I'm going to switch to semolina. When we put the semolina flour with our pasta into the water, the semolina flour will immediately kind of drift off because it's a thicker grain, thicker texture. If we use the AP flour at this point and put it in the water, that kind of makes a gummy consistency on the outside, and it's not as nice texture-wise when you eat your pasta. So semolina is going to help us to make this that like restaurant quality pasta. Now what I'm going to do is start at each end and liberally flour the bottom. So I'm going to flip it up onto itself because I just floured the top. It shouldn't stick at all. I'm going to do the same for the opposite side. So the piece I tore is not really concerning me because I know that we're going to be cutting the pasta, and if we want like a nice shape, we're probably going to discard that one anyways. Now I'm kind of getting into the middle part that I missed when I did both the sides. Just being really gentle, pulling it up. It will come up, you just have to be gentle with it. Alright, so all that middle part that's exposed, no flour, that's what I'm going to add flour to now. Alright, so now that we're all completely floured up with the semolina, this is kind of, could be an end product for some. If we want to make lasagna, then we would cut this into the lengths that would fit our lasagna dish. So if you're doing like a 9x3, then you would cut here. This would be 1 sheet, this would be 2 sheets, and then this would be your 3rd sheet at the end. So you could have 3, and then when you do the other portion of pasta, that would be a 6-layer lasagna. If you want to do the raviolis, then you could set your filling down the row, and then you could flip over your sheet and you could punch out those different ravioli. Today we're going to be doing a pappardelle style, so that's a thicker style noodle. You could cut this into a thinner noodle that would be like a tagliatelle or an angel hair. It's kind of up to you what you want to do with your noodle. So we're going to do the pappardelle, and I could show you the other cuts too. What we're going to do now is just clean up the edge here. So first we're going to cut this in half to make it a little bit more manageable. Move this sheet over here. We'll work with this sheet first. We're going to fold down, make sure we have flour on all our parts, and then we're going to fold again down. And now we're just going to cut the shape that we want. The pappardelle is the wider noodle. Once you have your shape, loosen it up so that it doesn't stick to itself. It should not be sticking at this point at all. We should liberally coated this with semolina flour. I'm tossing it now on my bench flour just so that nothing's sticking, and when I look at my noodle, it's completely coated with flour. It's not sticking to itself at all, even when I crunch it up like that. Same goes for all these other ones. We always want to be very liberal with the semolina. It is going to fall off inside of the boiling water, so that's why we're using it. I'm going to finish the pappardelle. Just going at about 1.5 to 2 inch. Here we have our pile. If we want to save these in the refrigerator, I recommend placing them all in your hand with the middle meeting in your hand, in your palm. And then once you have them all gathered, you take that middle part, wrap it around your hand, meet and tuck the ends under, and that's going to be a nest. So these nests you can keep in the refrigerator for up to a week, and I would keep them in something like a to-go storage container, anything that closes airtight. This, because it has so much semolina on it, should not stick at all when you take it out of the fridge. It should be just like when you made it today. When you put it in the water, just make sure it falls, no clumping. If it clumps now, it will clump inside of your water. All right, for our second sheet, I can show you a couple different styles, and with our discard, I can show you a little bit more. So this one, I'm gonna do the same, the fold down, make sure we have flour, fold down again. If we're cutting it really thin, being very mindful, we can do more of an angel hair, spaghetti style. So those ones are just really thin. The tagliatelle would be just a little bit thicker. This one, you know, tagliatelle, kind of like fettuccine. Okay, so now we have relatively thin, we have kind of our medium size, and then we have our large size. So that's just whatever you would like as far as your style of pasta. With our discard, I'll show you if we cut this into rectangles. Now if we put our finger in the middle, hold and pinch, we have our bow tie pasta. So just put your finger in the middle of the rectangle, your thumb and your middle finger will push and you pinch it, and you can do that. You can have, you know, a little kid come and help you if you have one around. And whatever size rectangle you made, that's how wide your bow tie will be. So if you want really small ones, you could do that too. That's up to you. Okay. So I'll just finish this with the pappardelle shape that I would like. and then I will show you how to boil your pasta in the water and combine it with your sauce. We're ready to boil our pasta and then put it together with our sauce. So today we're doing a pesto sauce with some tiniest tomatoes I found at the store. So we're gonna use those with our pesto sauce. Our water has salt. You want it to be as salty as the ocean. Good old salt water. That's going to be what seasons our pasta. We didn't add any salt to the actual dough. It should come just from the water absorbing into the pasta dough. For our sauce, we are going to put some garlic into the pan along with some extra virgin olive oil. Oh, this is gonna be a little obnoxious. So my olive oil, I'm gonna just do a little bit. For my garlic, I'm going to cut off the butt, flip it onto its flat side, and then smash it with my knife. And I'm just going to leave this kind of in its whole form, a little bit crunched up. I really like garlic, so this is going to be good for me. Throw that in my pan, let that start to heat up. Our water is almost boiling, so when that starts to boil, that's when we'll throw our pasta in and put this all together. Our garlic has just started browning. I've just been tossing that in the pan with my tongs here, just making sure that none of it burns, kind of just flipping it around, getting that nice garlic flavor all over. I'm going to add in some of my tomatoes now to the pan, just to blister in the oil. So we're going to be putting our pasta in the water just when it starts to boil. It's nice and coated with the semolina flour, so it should not be sticking together at all. Alright, our tomatoes are just starting to blister. Our water's boiling, so I'm going to go ahead and drop in our pasta. I'm just ensuring that it's nothing sticking together when I drop it. If we have it sticking together, it will start to clump in the water. I'm going to give it a gentle stir with my tongs. And this should only take about 1 minute to cook. It's super fast. You want it to be al dente. I'm going to give it a taste in a second just to see is it the texture I want. Alright, so our tomatoes have blistered, our garlic is brown. I'm going to add the pesto that I made earlier to my pan. My pasta is rising to the top. I'll give one a little taste here to see what we have as far as texture. It's a little hot. Alright, she's ready to come out. I gave it a taste and I'm seeing that it's a nice al dente. I don't want to go over because I'm going to finish it off in my pan with my sauce. And now I'm going to finish everything in this pan. I'm going to add a little bit of my pasta water. And I could add a nice handful of Parmesan cheese right now. I think that would be amazing. I can also put it at the end, but if you want like a really rich sauce that sticks to your noodles, then cheese or cream is kind of the way to go there. But this is looking really yummy. Just finished up in the pan. And I think we're ready to eat here. Gonna turn it off and get all my plating ready. We have our beautiful plate of pasta right here. Just added on a couple little pine nuts that was also in the pesto, some more cherry tomatoes, and then a finish with some shaved Parmesan cheese on top. And now we're just ready to enjoy, really. One more thing about the boiling of the pasta, we want to keep all the pasta we boil to be the same shape at the same time. So if we wanted to do our thin pasta, we would not go ahead and make it with the thick pasta because that will make 2 different cooking times. And then some of your pasta will be overdone, some will be underdone. So one shape per boil. If you want to do different shapes, just boil them at different times. Has a wonderful al dente texture, just that little bit of toothsomeness that you get from the semolina flour. Nice, refreshing for springtime. Oh mon Dieu, we made pasta!